Jace first pick does go up in value. Them taking that away, maybe AL trying to set up for something like a Varus down bot for Hope.
Could see that for sure. I do wonder how much prio bot lane will take now. Maybe giving Hope a little bit of an answer into Awesome's Kai'Sa game number 1. Kai'Sa just still feels so lethal in the hands of the LPL carries. It's honestly taken a huge prio to me in seeing the win conditions for a lot of our teams. The Lilia is going to be the final ban right now as well towards Shadow.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of big Kai'Sa games in the LPL. To no one's surprise, right? Fights break out, you pick the right spot, and you carry the fights, as we saw in the last game. But of course, with Fearless now on the table, all those champs gone. And it's a Vi ban, which leaves that Varus open. And yep, gotta imagine that's gonna be insta-locked here for AL. So flexibility of the poke and the on-hit build available with that B1 Varus, and both builds very strong at the moment.
I do love that he adds that kind of level to the AD position. And giving some of that flexibility going their way, but I still think there's some big potentials on the table for either side. I know this is a composition that FPX have really liked going for in terms of the kind of Yone Sejuani combo. If they do end up wanting to go for that, it would set up perfectly as they grab the Ziggs. So still flexibility in that Ziggs if they want to go to mid lane, but more importantly, it sets up for that potential third pick of the Yone for FPX.
Yeah, also a chance for AL to deny. If the deny does come in, then a likely Corki or Smolder mid just to answer the Yone. Would like Poppy. I think Poppy and the Sejuani, you get a lot of nice value, and we have seen Tarzan be very willing to play this pick, so I think it's a good angle for
One of my favorite Poppies.
Yeah.
Him and Jedye, they're my two favorite Poppies in the LPL. They're really damn good at knowing where to be and how to be impactful on this champion. It's also, at least in the past, the trend of both of them just like kind of taking like unique kind of weird paths to just find little advantages early. Against the Sejuani, you're going to have to stay pretty proficient there.
Yeah, still, it can be a really positive matchup here, as the steadfast presence and the phase rush can get you out of a lot of problems, as that's just going to be an Akawi slammed here for Shanks. There's a lot that FPX could take to try and CC and deal with this. Renekton, for sure, could be one of those picks, as if Akawi jumps in at the wrong time, of course, could get baited by the point-and-click stun. That said, I was baited by Champ Select, not going to be the Renekton instead.
Like
maybe
last
the Nautilus,
second Nautilus.
Hey, still point-and-click control available with that depth charge and, of course, the dredge line. So, a lot of lockdown going to be taken here by Jwei, who last time he did play this pick, I will say, was really big in his hands with the win that FPX picked up over Thunder Talk.
Very true. Very true. We get the Renekton ban in the second phase by FPX. It's going to be the Corki ban by anyone's legend. See what the final bans are going to be right now. It has been fully focused onto carry potential for both sides.
Yeah, and I will say that with that Akawi, Mazel, the Gambit somewhat thrown, as Shanks kind of daring Kael to take that Yone regardless here. As the Corki taken away, we'll see if they do end up taking away the Yone into the Poppy. And that Akawi could be rather tough. I gotta say, with that steadfast presence in the Yone snapback, of course, you were able to get through some CC. I'm curious if that changed. Okay, we're not going to find out if that changed.
Yeah, we're not going to find out. I think it's just too obvious of a ban to kind of leave up there. It is going to be the Nocturne ban, though, by FPX. So either they're thinking AL or cooking. They're not super sure if this Poppy is actually going to go into that jungle matchup, but they will grab the Ambessa for sheer.
Especially with Ambessa being pulled now, option to put Poppy top. It becomes a little bit more appetizing and doable here if you are Flandre. Of course, Alistar, a decent grab here into the Sejuani Nautilus. Those multi-rounds of cooldowns, really big for the Alistar when you press R. Again, your ability to survive through a fight and try and get 2 rotations off. Makes them really powerful as a support.
What's the counter pick here for FPX? What are we saving it for? Is it going to be the Ziggs mid for Kael? Are we looking at Awesome in the bot side with it?
No, I think they were wondering really where that Poppy's going to go. Maybe they were going to shift their mid pick around that. So maybe looking to see if anything gets opened up. I'm not sure.
It is going to be the Poppy Toppy.
Yeah, might be it. So concerned about that. This is a really meatball heavy comp now, as I'm expecting the on-hit Varus, quite frankly, with all this frontline that AL's taken, even in spite of the Ziggs.
I could definitely see it. I think you'll be able to chunk through a lot of this frontline very nicely. Tristana He's going to be that final lock-in. Looks like it will end up being that setup of multi-carry potential from FPX. Kael looking like he's going to be piloting that. Obviously, we still have a little bit of time to swap Arunis. But I do like the Ziggs Nautilus bot lane. So we'll see if they do end up wanting to switch that around.
I just really interested. I got to say, it's going to take a lot of time for Tristana to have the items to really get through the front line. I think AL early on in this game going to be very much at the advantage going into FPX, whereas Tristana needs a lot of time to get scaling in this, just given how big the front line is. I can't imagine a world where she is able to actually pump her way through a Poppy and a Skarner. So I think it's going to be really important that AL are able to, play as that meatball and make sure that they aren't making mistakes, overcommitting into Ziggs Trist. I think if they have sound fights and are able to take angles, should be much stronger early and then be able to use that to snowball their way through. But things go late for FPX. Could be really nice with that Tristana Ziggs.
Yeah, I mean, the tried and true demolition comp by these two, it's been really, really strong. And we saw FPX with some pretty good macro decisions in that last game, leaning into the momentum for FunPlus Phoenix. Can they take a 2-0 over anyone's legend? Coming into the day, that would not be the statement that would come out of my mouth, but it is the one that we are looking at right now, because anyone's legend fell in game number 1 off the back of some really impressive combinations of FPX. Now in this one, that meatball, it might be a little hefty, but can FPX crack that mold and find the advantage with this demolition comp we talked so much about? It is a upset potentially of the season here for FPX, as they are still striving to find their first series win as an organization here in Group Ascend in Split 2. We're off on to game number 2 of this best of 3. There we go. See, that win got them a couple cheers. Let's go. It's not just me making noises.
Yeah, still a lot more timid.
I think AL lost a lot of fans in that one, by the way.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, apparently they did.
The cheers went very far down for AL.
Well, I got to say, going through this, Hope, going to go for the poke Varus. I will say that on hit, Varus ambitious into Trist plus Ziggs. However, I thought that with how tanky and also the Alistar being in front, that might have been enough space for him to feel like he could play on hit. Him being poked, that does really make the timer where FPX can win a lot earlier in this game, because it's not like Hope is going to be pumping out the deeps later on. So I think the early game, even more important here for anyone's legend. They're going to need to really get things going in their favor and use their early strength to push and early tankiness to really push this through before that Trist Ziggs get big.
Couple things to keep an eye out on as we go forward. There's going to be a very interesting series of events on who gets prio in each lane, as we do have these junglers starting on opposite sides of the map. So opposite side focus is going to be coming through here. Early level 1 being played very hot in this bot side 2v2. Does Tarzan just make his way down here quick and try to get influence?
I think it's going to clear for now, as of course FPX with the Ziggs and the Naught making some nice plays early on to push back Hope and Kael.
Yeah, I like me a cheeky little level 3 potential. Shadow has decided to put a stop to that clear and go for an aggressive path into Tarzan.
Spotted
on
though.
The Skarner.
He can drag it into the brush. Opportunity. Oh, yep. Tarzan going to snag it. As he does smite, Shadow saves his smite. So opportunity now to play the red buff as Jwei comes in as well. Shadow with a smite being up. Yeah, going to relegate Tarzan to the other side.
Really
so,
nice.
Good invade here from FPX. Again, these game plans from Shadow. But we credit them for being really strong and helping FPX make it into this group. And good to see that with some priority taken to the lanes here, able to get a push in. Kael made Shanks miss a lot of CS with that first wave.
Yeah.
So not bad so far.
Oh, mid lane, Shanks. Oh, okay. This Shroud going to keep Kael from stacking up that explosive charge any further. Shadow going to try to deny Tarzan from taking his jungle.
He smited it.
Ends up getting that one. That's that save of the smite from earlier. Ends up getting the trade on the chicken nuggets. And now we have A bit of an awkward situation for Tarzan as he's going to get jumped on by Kael. Gets the $8 impact into the wall. Flash from Shadow. That was bold. Doesn't get the reset from the rocket jump from Kael, but might just get the permafrost set up. It is so close, but not going to go either way here.
I mean, maybe if he hits the Q in the first place and gets an auto off, like they could have got the permafrost passive sooner. I think that was a little ambitious to go for that flash into the kill. As I will say, the early plan from Shadow is still nice. It's netted him both crabs from the looks of things here. But Kael is rotated to try and prevent this, and Flandre is staying.
Okay, yeah, Kael just looking for it. Kael in a 1v1 against Shanks in the middle of it all. That's going to be the flash, and then Dash coming through. Flandre makes his name known in mid lane, and that steadfast presence was massive.
Oh, man, really nice from Flandre. He got the wave in. He dropped one, walked mid, made an impact, and really saves Shanks as well, who, of course, was baiting. He knew that he had more teammates around him. But, man, Kael was one auto away from getting Shanks. Just managed to slink his way out of there, Mazel. And that's first blood going over to Flandre. Did invest it in a tier, so not going to be a lot of items and raw strength coming in quite yet. But still, good defense from AL is, again, the early game is going to be very, very important for them this game. They need to take off and really snowball things hard early on. Or else this series might be difficult for them.
Yeah, I definitely want to see Shanks, especially once he hits that level 6, get a little bit more on that aggressive tempo. See if him and Tarzan can combine early. Right now going for a nice trade onto Kael. Try to get that last setup. Okay, Kael still not getting the resets on the rocket jumps, by the way. Awesome rather. Going to get that jump out with the satchel charge. There's a lot of tech and explosives in this game, and Hope, he's looking like he might explode. Piercing arrow does go back. The flash play from Hope. The flash from Awesome. He's out of there. Now Shadow is here. Maybe it's enough. No, the flail is not going to be enough damage. And God, we are so close to things exploding, but FPX just falls short every time.
Yeah, Awesome lived with barely any HP. The fact that he's still up is honestly a win for FPX, as at least he's going to get the wave in and be able to reset. Hope burned everything to try and sneak out a kill. They were down minions, though, that whole time. Got them very low, and Shadow making an appearance just to make sure things go even. Could open up an angle at Grubs as Tarzan's making his way there.
And now we take a look at this map state here with the Grubs. Started up by Tarzan. Shadow is right around the corner. We have a move from Kael, who just hit level 6 as well.
Got the wave in.
Could be a big play.
Kael's here. Has Hex Flash. He's not spotted yet.
Shadow gets the first one. That will be smote away, though, so Tarzan still has the advantage to get the next one. Unless he just wants to try to clean one up. The reset is there, but the other one didn't reset, so that means FPX get 2 of them as well. And gonna collapse onto the third.
They did rotate Awesome here, so they brought numbers, bully ball them off the Grubs, and the good start continues for FPX.
You'll love to see that, man. We were so downtrodden on the 0-3 start for FPX, and rightfully so. They had some close series in the first week, but then they got pounded by Top Esports. And to have this big win and this big start to this series over AL feels really good for an organization that hasn't been in the spotlight for a long while and has been trying to find what works for them through developmental pieces.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, this game, I know that AL have to take off early on in this one, but they really lack wave clear outside of this Varus, and they've not been able to get push early, as, again, that Ziggs not, that's a winning combo. Not really positive in the Alistar in that early landing phase. Tristana just able to play the wave, push in the Akali. And it's not like Poppy's going to really threaten the push against the Ambessa either, so even though AL has lanes that, you know, can be fine, the push is not theirs, and we saw FPX take nice advantage of that early on. That said, with all the plays being made over towards the Grubs and the top side, Shadow going to drop that first dragon and make sure that Poppy misses some waves top instead. So trying to take some economy off of Flandre, who might be under threat if he shows he's going.
He stepped back up. This might be some trouble. As the Keeper's Verdict going to be used to get Shadow out of that one, but Glacial Prison is available for him. Just going to let it loose and let it go. FPX find the pick on a Flandre in top lane.
That's nice. I mean, there's no flash, no TP. Shadow takes care of that one, and Flandre, he's going to lose a lot in that top matchup. If Ambessa takes off, could be really solid as the good plays from FPX continue at the direction of Shadow. Again, we saw in the last couple series, Shadow and FPX attempt plays. Some were forced when they were bad. Some were called off when they could have been good. It feels like whatever they've done in this one, they've struck the right balance among looking for plays that are good in their draft. And FPX, again, off to a nice start. I like what they got for dropping that Dragon. That's really big for Ambessa to have an Eclipse this early in the game.
Yeah. And it's so fun. I mean, this story for Shadow has been a little bit turbulent since he came into the LPL from that Mad Lions squad where he kind of grew that name. First starting on LGD, then going to NIP, then having a little bit of a sub-stint there in the summer of 2024 for LNG. But it's been a bit of a resurgence for him. It feels like a little bit more consistency coming out from this guy who is known to be a playmaker, but struggled to find the consistent level of LPL jungles. And I think we can see a lot of bright things from this guy in that run in the qualification tournament, but especially in this series against none other than Tarzan.
And especially, I mean, Tarzan coming off the last series, too. He carried that Game 3 against BLG, right? And the Fury's been banned all day today. And to do so, again, had the potential to make some plans, make some plays in these 2 games so far. Mazel seen Shadow be good with that early direction. And we'll see if it continues here as the overloads coming in for FPX. Again, they have 3 grubs, and we talked about the lack of wave clear for AL. Could hit Flandre here, who's still down flash. Tarzan here to cover, but that's a lot of damage.
Tarzan to 2. Flandre is in trouble. Mega Inferno bomb, 3-man impale into the 3-man headbutt pull from Kael as they get the cleanup kill on Awesome. It might still be health bar diff though, as it's now Kael getting low. Shanks going into the fight, looking for a big perfect execution, going for the kill on a Shadow, and gets clean ups there for AL. As Hope was trying to push back into mid lane, it still is going to be Care not able to join the fight. Public execution going wide from Sheer.
Good defense there from AL, as if Ziggs is allowed to get set up there and siege against the Poppy, who really does lack that wave clear, could be a problem for anyone's Legend, at least that first brick threatening the fall. But Tarzan, that 3-man impale, it got Awesome stuck under the turret. The Ziggs melted, and any chance to have a winning play there goes to the wayside by FPX. It's a good answer from AL.
Yeah, that 3-man impale. Don't see that very often. Able to layer that one in for Tarzan. We do have first item spikes coming across the board. Does that change things in this fight? Heart Steal completed for Shadow. He's here for the grub fight. Sheer, in trouble at topside. Going to flash really well at that engage from Kael. That first grub did go the way of AL there, but I think the other 2 going to go the way of FPX, and they're going to be on full 5 grubs with this demolition comp. That's massive too.
Yeah, I couldn't contest anymore as Ziggs got back mid, was still showing a lot of power. We're going to take another look. I thought this play was nice for FPX. Again, they have Ziggs TPing in. They're looking for the setup, potential dive on the Flandre. Jwei finds the combo here, but Awesome walks too far up to get the combo. That satchel charge also knocks Garner into him, and now Awesome with no sums. Oh, never mind, he flashes away from Kael, but he's stuck.
He is stuck. He's going to be in trouble. He gets headbutt back to the team, but Shanks didn't have any cooldowns for him. Tarzan going to drag Jwei to the icy depths there, but the dredge line does buy a little bit of time. Not enough, though, and here comes AL. They're flexing their muscles. That game 1 was just a fluke, and they find multiple kills on top side.
The clutch pocket and find coming out from Kael, who has been so big for anyone's Legend so far this year. Mazel doesn't reset, waits where he has the wards and finds an angle onto Awesome, and again makes that Ziggs easy pickings. Really important that angles are found here by anyone's Legend. They need to use that and use the Keeper's Verdicts to make sure they have numbers advantages and then are able to get on top of FPX.
And there is the item matching now coming through for AL. Heart Steal completed for Tarzan, and that is really, really good plays from AL. Across the board, gonna also now have that U-moves completed for Hope. So now trying to utilize this little advantage as another objective will be on the horizon. It is a Dragon. Would be evening of the Dragon score 1-1 if FPX are able to take it.
Yeah, and I think for me, eyes on Shanks, your early Rocket Belt on Akali and Sork Shoes at this point of the game. Again, the CC trying to slow down Akali, kind of lacking. Real chance for Shanks to be big, as at the moment he's not here for the fight and there's no TP. I think that's might be why we see anyone's Legend really sacking this one, as FPX going to take that one for themselves pretty easily, and we have a Cloud Soul spawning on the Rift. Could be pretty big for both teams, as closing the gap important for anyone's Legend and maintaining that gap important for FPX in this one.
Yeah, I personally am just a big fan of Cloud Soul as a whole.
It's strong. It's slept on. It's strong. Movement speed is really slept on as a stat for Legends. being there is very important, guys. You know.
True. Being there is very important. Life lessons by Cubby.
Yes. That's exactly
honestly,
that one.
People would probably pay for that. How do we feel about this side lane setup for Sheer on the Mbessa? Because I think this is one of the picks that Sheer has been really willing to lean into so far this split and pays off very well for him. Does he have that impact in this map state, or at least as time goes on in this game?
Poppy's just a neutralizer, right? Sheer's going to be fine. He's going to get a CS and be big. And as the game goes on, I mean, they run out of damage. That's my concern this game. I know anyone's legend is kind of taking some control, but their damage is not high, and it runs out. So still really important that AL's strong. I love these angles that Kael's looking for as, again, finds himself now behind Care. Shadow's walking in. It's going to be enough to deter Kael, but I feel like he's doing a nice job of always trying to reach and find these angles, which AL needs.
He's definitely been one of my favorite new supports on the block here. Obviously, he's been a little bit of time now on AL, but still has been one of my brightest new additions to the league. It's been really fun to watch him grow into his own. Again, I was talking earlier about kind of the picks in the meta whenever he first came in, showing some different looks in that supportive role, but he's really become kind of that staple piece to anyone's Legends communicative efforts, but as well as finding that direction on the Rift.
He's been a really, really strong support for me. I thought he was the best performer in Split 1, minus when Chris got the best of him in those finals. And been really big for AL in Split 2, coming off a big series yesterday. And their win versus BLG, and going to have to try and dig deep to find another 2-1 today as they find themselves down 1-0. And looking at this game, Mazel, I'm still really concerned. I think Kael has to make big plays soon. The comps that we have right now, a 500 gold lead for AL really just does not matter that much. When these 2, 3, 4 items come in FPX, they're going to be really scary, really tough to deal with. There's not a lot of damage on the Anyone's Legend side, especially if our keys are down. It's a poke Varus and a Cubby. That's all the damage you're facing. That sounds good to me if I'm FPX. And at an even game, this is starting to get to the point where I think it's scary for AL.
Okay, well, we'll keep track of that and see if that continues to be the thing.
Another 10 minutes like this is not good, right? Like, they have to make plays now to try and make some plays, make some stuff happen. So let's see what they do around these next couple objectives, right?
And then we will end up seeing the Rift Herald pulled out of its pit. Both teams definitely hovering around this one. Biggest thing is, can you rely on the consistency of FPX? I don't think they've been able to have those tight condition wins so far, so leaning now maybe into their first version of that. AL are going to start this one up. Catch Care in the conditional transition to that mid lane. Going to turn right back onto the Rift Herald, and AL will take this neutral.
Yeah, it's going to be enough just to grab it, as looks like we're going to get a swap of the side lanes too. That said Care. Oh, he's TPing right back. They want the fight. Okay, I thought they were going to sack and go bot. Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye, Shadow. You don't get to play in that fight.
That's the objective. Again, Varus is the wave clear. If I'm FPX, I kind of want to get bot to try and play away from the Varus. If they go to a lane where Varus is not, they have big wave clear advantage.
Tarzan looking for a potential flash impale. Awesome. Still has flash, waiting to use it just in case Tarzan gets a little too close. That is a scary scorpion, man. Now they're going to collapse over onto Shadow, who's still trying to take the Scuttle Crab. Meanwhile, being chased down by the rest of AL. They're going to get the reset now out of Kael. Top lane turret almost taken by Sheer, but not going to go down. Dragon in about 35 seconds would be that second dragon for both sides.
Yeah, and that's part of why we saw that, long, goofy chase between the two junglers, because Tarzan was just trying to walk with Shanks to get him into that bot lane, which he was able to pick up. And now, of course, bot probably going to be a little bit more important with that dragon spawning Cloud Soul on the Rift yet again, as both teams looking for the second Drake here. And
2 items for Sheer.
I'm just really curious. I mean, if I'm FPX, I think that there's real validity in just dropping this. Just get some farm. Ignore fights for the next 5-10 minutes. Because again, if you get to this game with 25-30 minutes and it's an even game state, yes, Shanks is scary in the Akali, but you run out of damage if you're playing AL versus FPX's comp. And this Mbessa Ziggs late feels great. So FPX, their game state's really good right now. If it wasn't FPX, we would be really concerned for AL
Yeah,
at the moment, right?
That makes the biggest difference, though. I will say a track record is important. A lot used on a Flandre, and he gets out of there. A home run double base hit. I don't know. It's going to be all the moves from Flandre as Tarzan is now looking at getting caught by the rest of FPX. We're going to catch Jwei anyways. Turret going down. Flash from... Oh, no. That's one of the definite flashes you want back by Sheer. They will still get the kill on a Tarzan, and now Kael maybe looking for resets here on his own angle. Won't end up getting that full explosive charge setup, but the demolition crew, they've decided they're going mid, and they're looking to implode that turret.
This turret's gone. I think it's time to panic.
I don't know. Yep. Oh, it's close. Flandre getting out of there now, and FPX scooping up some decent gold, taking the lead in this game, and they are getting to that scaling condition slowly but surely.
I mean, if I'm FPX, I reset, I give the Drake, and just start controlling the top side of the map and the Otacon. I don't think this is a fight that you want to take right now, as the ults will be back up for anyone's legend, and again, this is the window where they're scary. But AL have not got enough for the comp they have at the moment, Mazel. Again, this game, it's way too close for comfort zone if you are AL. As this fight, and that depth charge on the Hope I thought was pretty big. That tower with no minions got a lot of work done on the AL, and this fight going even. I think this is a win for FPX if they just traded out on turrets in the end. I'm even surprised that they're trying to contest this, because if you play away from this, I just think that over time your comp gets so much bigger and better. As Shanks at the moment.
Oh, Sheer and Kael, they've overextended a little bit. Now they get the flash play out, and Kael's just going to go down now. And the rest of FPX, they fall prey to AL just standing there, looking menacing. And they will end up losing two massive ports to this team in Jwei and Kael, and lose out on pressure on bot side.
I really don't like this take from FPX. Again, they don't have all their ults up. There was no ult on Shadow. Jwei didn't have ult when he went down. So, like, why walk into this and the meatballs when AL were going to be there first and set up? I think that playing elsewhere, again, just playing for more economy and trying to set up, like, why are you walking in? There's no reason.
No rhyme, no reason. FPX don't need it. They're going to keep going. Sheer is just in there, too. TP coming in as well from Kael. Trying to get Kael. Maybe it's the best lane play. It's double and Pale. Sheer's on the back line, though. Maybe it's just enough. Look at Sheer pop the hell off right now. The rest of his team, though, is in a little bit of trouble. Wallbang doesn't come through. Kael getting some pop shots out of Flandre. Sheer doesn't end up following through, as Shanks did come through with 2.5 items now. And after all is said and done, AL will take that dragon.
Yeah, and he's got all backups, so no way you can walk in. But again, like, as FPX, why are you fighting that? You scale so hard. Again, AL have control, and I think anyone's legend just really took advantage over mistakes from FPX. Fighting at a timer where they didn't have cooldowns, the scaling in the game. Just give that and scale. You can play for Otacon and set it up and then be in a really advantageous spot after the dragon's taken if you give it over. By not doing that, I think that's a pretty inexperienced mistake from FPX, just not understanding what this game is. Again, the damage runs out from AL. If you survive that, you're in really good game state. Instead, like, why are we walking in for all this? This is just not warranted in the game for FPX when time is their friend the way it is in this game.
That's actually just a little bit of the recipe, I guess, that we expected in this game. Some really good moments from AL, some lackluster ones from FPX, but we have seen more better ones than worse ones for FPX, which I think is a boon. But again, not playing to their win condition, not playing to the strategy that enables their comp. And we are now on second items for a majority of people in the game. Almost third item there for Sheer as well. Does this second item change states on the map, Cubby, even with this small lead for AL?
Yes, I mean, I think every item that comes in is just advantage FPX. The one big concern is Shanks. Shanks can delete anyone that he looks at right now. Again, lack of CC to deal with the Akali. Akali can do a lot of damage in these fights. Shanks needs to really step up in this game if they want to win, because he needs to delete these priority targets, or else they will rain hell upon his team as this game goes on. And if it's a DPS war, it's unwinnable for AL. They have all the tanks in the world, but they have none of the damage in the world to go behind it. So I think that's really where the big difference is.
We have seen some sketchy decision making from FPX here. Now they're going to try to commit onto this topside play, engaging with the Mega Inferno bomb, and they get Hope. Hope is down. A 3-man impale yet again. Kael trying to get the headbutt pulve combo. Tarzan still kicking. Big blast cone out there, but Flandre has come to join the fight. Now maybe overextending. Public execution goes wide from Sheer. Dashes into the stun of the
Shanks.
steadfast presence. And here comes Shanks and AL around the horn of this red buff. Still taken though by FPX. Shanks is hunting. Maybe a little bit left out by his lonesome there. Nothing else coming of this top lane play, but massive stuff from both sides, honestly.
I mean, Hope died, and again, he got quite caught there. I don't know why he funneled into that choke, as I feel like AL were the ones that really overreached. But again, for me, Onus still really is on them to make plays. I just think it has to be around Shanks. Shanks is the one who is fed. Any angle he gets, any look that he gets where FPX don't know where he's at is going to be really strong for Shanks. To, again, it's so important that he's finding big targets where he has this setup, but there's not that DPS throughout.
And again, you have to remember,
through here.
Yeah, he is a little bit caught there. But you have to remember, I mean, this was the Team WE transplant combo of Hope and Shanks, and they have been a massive influence on how AL actually win games, and it's really nice to see more resources delving into Shanks' pocket here with this Akali. He picked it 3rd in the draft here too, as Flandre is going to take an outer turret, matched on the other side of things by FPX and Sheer.
Otacon started though. AL going to try and get a fight.
It's already halfway.
Yeah, awesome. Just burned his ult coming up here for Shadow and Jwei here in a sec.
Ooh, double headbutt pulve into the chains of corruption. Kael with a massive buster shot. Now Shanks on the back line. Impale coming through at AL. It seems like they can do no wrong. In the choke point, in the moment, it is anyone's legend that eviscerate FPX. Back onto the Atacon they go, and this is the anyone's legend that we expected to see.
It is, but again, as AL, you're playing that fight without Sheer. The setup wasn't there. AL did a really nice job of getting vision, getting control, but Sheer was nowhere to be seen for that fight, and he had no TP. FPX just get their bluff called. AL had the numbers advantage. They slammed the objective. They take it and take the fight win as another mistake from FPX comes through.
And, like, I hate to say it, but this is also why I just get so frustrated at our teams that drop games like they did in game number 1 when AL should look at a dominant 2-0 in this series. Because then you get moments like this, these kinds of pop-up from key players that we know have that opportunity to just absolutely run this league. And it's really nice to see that performance from Shanks on the Akali here.
They can, and yeah, it's big from Shanks, but again, that setup is so uncompetitive for FPX. Like, I'm sitting up here like,
but,
you know,
I mean,
look out for
let's be
Akali,
real.
right?
They're 0-3, right? Like, they've literally only won 2 games so far in this Ascend group, and it was a big question mark for them to even win that first game against AL.
It is in a way, but on the other side of the coin, until they fought the second dragon, I mean, I thought they were playing this game much better, and arguably the series much better. So also to have a team, I know they're bottom of the standings, but make mistakes like this when I feel like this game was far more winnable than the first game at certain points. It just looks like FPX far less comfortable trying to execute upon this. Taking a few fights they shouldn't have looked at. Now, they're really going to start to feel the heat of the mistakes they made, because this dragon, I mean, Soul Point, Quad Soul is a dangerous one to give over. Could really help AL close the gap and execute these angles they need to find to win the fights the way they want to set it up. And again, FPX, like, if they traded out the second dragon for something, you would have had control over that Otacon where AL won the fight because they had full control over it. I feel like that's really the crux of where they lost so much of their tempo and pace in the game and really hurt them against a team like AL, who have taken full advantage of those mistakes.
They absolutely have. And now a small but steady lead developed by AL. And continue pushing a little bit of their presence out on the map now that they have that Soul Point as well. A little bit of extra movement speed going their way. We're also going to be very close to third items for their side of things. Do you wonder if that means that we get ever the quick Baron take as well? But actually, we're looking at a bit of a potential side lane play now onto Shanks. Do you wonder if they want to commit for it? Oh my god.
That's valuable.
I mean, a little bit. I would say that's pretty valuable there, as Tarzan's going to run straight at Kael, and Flandre's here too. Double impale into the combo, and Shanks just gets to have his pick of the litter of who he wants to eliminate. That'll be a couple quick kills going the way of AL, and Hope will help clean them up. Kael found Shadow on the back end of things, but this game is starting to get out in front of FPX.
And again, that fight taken, overextension. Zanya's not respected. They got the Seekers, they got the flash out, but far too much cost in a fight that Awesome wasn't at yet again, as FPX overextend, reach something that they couldn't afford to take, and AL punish.
Quick punishes from what should be one of the best teams in Group Ascend. It's going to be a statement for them as we take a look back at this play. Shanks is just putting on a masterclass of Akali.
The difference here is that he got the Seekers, right? I mean, Shroud's down, E's down. It's like, it's a maybe, but Seekers gets popped. He goes golden. That's double ult value. Flashes away from the dredge line, and even then, I think that he's too big where it even would have worked out once Flandre gets in. That steadfast presence, making sure that everyone stays in place for Shanks to run the rest of the fight. And again, this fight looked pretty easy there. Yeah,
I mean, I got flashbanged by the fact that they threw both ultimates, and it just all it took was one Seekers to get out of all of it. Unfortunate for FPX as they continue to fall down this hole here. Almost 3,000 gold up is AL, but it's more so now with these item advantages and 3 items up for Shanks and for Hope that they can continue pushing into this side of the map that FPX calls home. And now Shadow getting caught outright by Flandre, and Kael will end up getting away with his life, but maybe not for too long. Baron is still up. They did end up leaving Care by himself on the bot side of the map. A couple pings coming out to the Baron, but that's a full side lane turret going to the demolition squad of FPX.
Grubs Tristana making quick work of that inner turret is something taken. But AL, after that, again, it's got to be a reset from Tristana. Shanks going to fix this bot lane, and Baron's under full control for anyone's Legends. So, going to be an uphill battle for FPX to get in here. Those items coming in going to make things a little bit easier, but still, a lot of these spikes have been delayed. I mean, now we're getting to the big 3-item spikes with LDR and Deathcap just being completed here for the FPX team. So, a lot more power coming in, but anyone's Legend in such a better game state than what it could have and should have been here for FPX. Even just being up 2k gold in this draft, where I will say at this point, I don't think 2k gold matters all too much. I think it really still is on Shanks to execute. So for me, all eyes on Shanks to make sure that he can keep on being the stud that he has been. And for the anyone's Legend, really the role players to keep on creating the space and making these fights easy for Shanks to play out.
FPX cannot get caught in these kinds of situations. AL will take full advantage of it. And I love it because we set up all these things about how comps should work, how things should pan out, and we've had the opposite go down both games now so far. Still a lot to be played in this game number 2 for sure for both sides, but still funny to see some of this scaling end up not being the kind of win conditions so far for FPX. Still time for that to become the case, but now junglers getting onto 3rd items, specifically Tarzan, going to be ridiculously tanky on this Skarner. We also are on almost 4 items for Shanks, as you said. A lot of eyes on this guy, and a guy that honestly has taken a lot of the weight from AL in his combination with Tarzan. Has been very proficient so far this year.
Yeah, I think still we're at the point where the FPX carries don't do enough meaningful damage to the front line to really make a difference. As I see a very early buster shot used here. As anyone Legend, of course, dropping
that's
the
Soul coming up.
Yeah, this is Soul coming up, and they've got good control so far. FPX, their battle line very far back. Jwei trying to make some progress, and FPX seeding mid, going to try and play through bot to enter this is Kael.
But nobody can follow, and now, I mean, you're just pulling the trigger on a play that was never going to work for you, FPX.
Yeah, that's one shot.
They're completely split apart. They just get taken out. Like,
Shadow can't Q there.
I appreciate it.
I mean, you can play that if you don't Q, but Shadow doesn't have flash, burns Q for nothing, and just gets collapsed as the 5-man. And again, like this team in comp where FPX could have advantage late, not being executed close enough to the threshold at all to even consider them having a lead. It's been better setups and better executions from AL since that 2nd Dragon.
It has indeed. It might not look like that much of a lead, but it is definitely being felt on the Rift for anyone's Legend. As we look into it now, it's going to be resets coming through, at least for Shanks. Potentially going to be on his 4th item now as well. Going to be closer. No, we didn't get it. It was close. It must be close. But is this a real realm of possibility where AL can just force the hand at Baron?
And that is what's next on the chopping block for AL, right? Use that, try and bait people in and out. That Akali, it's going to be running all over your backline, has a Cloud Soul to do so. Poppy, too. Poppy can be a bit of a horror this game, as she is really fed, gets really tanky, and it's not like Tristana has that percentage HP damage to really shred through Poppy. Going to have to do it by just continuously autoing, and if you're autoing that Poppy, well, the rest of your team's probably winning out the rest of the fight. So, still a tough task here for FPX, who, again, the mistakes they made earlier on put this game in a tough spot, and I mean, Shadow, like, what was that, bro?
Dude, the man has lost his mind in this game. I don't understand. That's like multiple plays that were just like question marks there.
He's taking control.
I might be losing my mind too watching FPX here, but it is a little bit of a circling from AL, who looked to try to put the finishing touches on this fight. Jwei just completely caught out as Hope takes him down, and that is right to the Baron, or actually to the red buff for anyone's legend.
Total control over this top side jungle as it's starting to get pretty dark for FPX. They don't have their support to try and walk in, find those potential wards. Did tuck a couple behind the Baron as they're going to be spotted with the killing of this crab, and now things get really dark. It's a slow take for AL. They have a poke Varus into the Kali, so this Baron take's really non-existent, so plenty of time for FPX to get in, but the setup's still very good for anyone's legend, and Shanks waiting for his prey to enter.
Yeah, he's just waiting for somebody to walk in the mouth. It's like a Venus flytrap at this point. Kael getting a little bit low. Not going to give the reset over to Care. Baron does go the way of AL. They will get out with their prize. Nothing else coming of it for FPX here. And a couple really good plays. And that's why I'm just like so mind blown at the duality of performances from FPX in that game number 1 versus game number 2 now. It's just like they used all of their efforts on that game number 1, and now we're getting the culmination of it. As Shadow getting caught out as well. Flash play onto Awesome, and he is down to Hope, and Shadow's going to quickly join him too. Easy does it for AL as they're looking to even up this series.
I really feel like FPX beat themselves in this one. Like, you reverse time over to that second Drake, and you give that over to AL. I think that your game state is so much better than it is now. It even wasn't that bad, but it looks bad because FPX, they're just getting outplayed across the map by anyone's legend, who have played this map so much better as a team and really punished FPX as anyone's legend end up finding the win here in game 2.
It is going to be an almost 7,000 gold lead going into this final push here. Sheer, not nearly the piece to the puzzle that FPX were looking for. And as those pieces get burst into flames, Sheer will be the final one to go down. And that will be 3 kills going the way of Shanks to finish it off. The confident Akali is going to even up the series for anyone's legend and go 1-1 in this best of 3.
I mean, at one point in that game, I was like, hey, I'm a little bit scared for AL. Like, they're behind the pace of the game. They need to make plays. And FPX just go down to a whimper to that Akali with the comp where they had some scaling. Just not able to make it happen. And, again, all that space creation between the Poppy, Skarner, and Alistar just to hold them in place. That damage that ended up coming out of the Varus and the Akali, that was enough against the higher damage profile for FPX, who, again, feel like really beat themselves in the back half of that game, just trying to make plays and contest things where they're down, and instead of being really disappointed making the good cross-map plays that we saw them be able to do in the first game with the tools that the Pantheon, Talia, Kai'Sa, Sion even bring, could have like really replicate that in game 2 and got ran across the map by anyone's legend.
Maybe beating themselves is the theme of tonight's opening series. It is still a situation where AL were the expected victors in this series. It was nice to see FPX get that big triumphant win. But honestly, in both games, and we'll harp on it a little bit more, it literally has been, like, on paper, one thing should happen, and then the opposite happens with these compositions and the execution on them. So I'm honestly very curious what we get for a game number 3, and very interested at kind of what iteration of both teams we end up getting, because you could definitely tell a lot of the steam was taken out of the sails there of FPX after that.
Yeah, it all kind of came crumbling back down as FPX, again, I thought that they had a couple spots where their game state was nice, but between having poor setups, not fighting with numbers, anyone's legend has really dug deep, like had much better fundamentals going into that game. And Shanks, I had an MVP performance in that game as well. So really nice game from Shanks, who, again, more onus on him and Hope to really take advantage of all the space they had from the tankiness that were picked around them. And Shanks really cashed in, made those fights look easy on the Akali. It was going to be tough to deal with an Akali that game, and definitely made it hard for him to be dealt with.
Yeah. Where was that AL in game 1 though, man? Like where was this team? Oh, that's actually so wild, man. That's why I love the LPL, because we always get the unexpected when it comes to these kinds of matchups. Even if on paper FPX were still looking for their first series win, they still have a chance coming into a game number 3 against anyone's legend. And it's really nice to see the kind of WE standouts now at home on anyone's legend consistently find performances, not only last night against BLG, but here as well in this series for Hope and Shanks. Hope a little bit less so in this second game, but still try to find influence as best as you can. And it's really nice to see them lean on that.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can chain it together for game 3, as you highlighted earlier. Shouldn't be dropping games to FPX, but one thing to drop games, another thing to drop a series. And at the moment, it feels like anyone's legend going to do what they can to not drop that series. Is again, that game stayed at 20 minutes. Look at FPX's team. Like, that's not a bad state for them to be in. Just, man, as time went on, that game got really tough for them to play.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough one to swallow for FPX for sure, because it felt like they had AL on the edge. They had a draft that worked out for them in game number 2, but tried and true top team fashion, you drop a game that makes you look like you don't even know how to play League of Legends, and then you come back and you smash 2 games in a row. That is at least a trajectory that AL are trying to get onto. First and foremost, I think the draft has been really fun to watch from them. Not only the Akali making a presence here, but it was also the kind of blind Akali that ended up working for them. The flexibility of the Poppy came into the fold as well. I love the way this AL team thinks about draft in the meta.
Yeah, I still feel like this draft, I don't, it's pretty risky for them to run. I like the idea of the Poppy and the flexing of it. Again, I really thought it was a game for on-hit Varus, because you could see all the space that was being created by AL in these groupings. Fortunately,
by a good old Al.
Yeah.
Good old Al from down the street.
Yeah, the poke Varus was able to take care of business in that one. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these fights, like FPX, were really out set up for me. That was the big difference. It really started here. Kael also had a really nice game, able to find a lot of really nice angles on this Alistar, and make sure they're able to play out these fights nicely. Is
the amount of missed public executions by Sheer in this game.
Yeah. And then the happens. Yeah, the E being able to follow up after the buster shot. That's pretty nice from Shanks, who again had an outstanding game. But like, these were the setups where, like, why is FPX playing this in the first place? Like, you're down numbers, down a setup, just go farm up and play out your 3 lanes if it's being granted to you. It was not the plan for FPX, and they really got punished for it, as it really got AL back into the game.
It did, and back into the series to try to push that upper echelon of the standings here in Group Ascend. Would push them to that 3-1 record. Should be very nice to tag alongside Top Esports, who were sitting at that 3-0 spot. But yeah, there was this attempt of a pick that literally, like, the most worth Seeker's arm guard usage in this entire series, and he finds a way to pick it apart.
It's nice to go see. I mean, a lot of these fights, Tarzan hitting big R's too.
True.
Definitely something else.
Multiple 3-man impales.
Yeah, like, just stands out in the highlight reel. And also, you know, Shadow cut out like every single fight as well. That's also standing out a little bit. As the Flash Awesome made for an easy end game with him being there, and anyone's legend able to clean up this game 2. Make sure we get to a game 3 with them at 1-1.
I'm just like, man, that first game, it didn't have to happen.
This game was so disappointing, man. If I'm being honest,
it really was, man.
Like, I really felt like FPX had a better chance to win this game, and then they just threw it in, like, such disheartening, unconvincing, uncompetitive fashion. I'm just sitting up here like, man, you lost because you stunk in that game. Like, it wasn't game 1. It's just, none of the fundamentals were right. Why are we fighting this?
He's so real. Why are we fighting this? That is the question that'll come up after that setup there. But I do expect that it's got to be Shanks that earns the MVP. Is there any kind of regard for anybody else in this game?
Kael. Yeah, did a nice job of finding angles, but it's a Shanks MVP.
It's Tarzan. I'm as big of a Tarzan fan as anybody else.
Did they have,
I don't know, man.
average impale count 2.5? If it was that, then maybe I'd think about it, but
That's the one stat that made the difference.
I feel like this is more of the, like, wow, I caught Shadow out of lot point than the, wow, I actually, like, played my butt off this game.
Shadow had a good influence onto the Tarzan.
Yeah, he really did.
Sure. Well, that is one heck of an MVP for that one, and one heck of a tying up of the series by anyone's legend. That means we're going all the way the distance for our first series, so you have to wait for the good series later. And this one's turning into a bit of a banger. FPX versus AL